What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. As always, I'm your host, Zach Cronin, and as always, we have a bunch of stuff to discuss on today's program. We are going to be talking about Columbia University cucking themselves to the Trump administration by agreeing to pay out $220 million in this settlement. We will not only hear the reporting, but we will hear from the acting president of Columbia University herself. We're going to discuss a little bit on how, of course, we are even more fucked on climate change. What am I doing? What the fuck am I doing? You guys already know what the story is that we're going to lead with. That's right. I'm done burying the lead. I did my best. I tried to put on a theatrical performance for the sake of suspense, but there's no point. There's no point. Do you know why? Because you already read the title before clicking on this fucking episode. Yes, that's right, everybody. Donald J. Trump. Not working. This is awesome. Okay, we're back. Donald J. Trump was told by Pam Bondi's Department of Justice back in May that he was, in fact, listed in the Epstein files. Fork found in kitchen, shit found in toilet, bird found in tree. This is nothing new. Obviously, we know that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein have had a very long documented relationship with one another dating back to, I believe, the 90s, a very close personal relationship. Them, Jeffrey Epstein saying that he was Donald Trump's best friend, Donald Trump allegedly sending him birthday cards for his 50th birthday. But this admission is striking. And it's striking because the Trump administration and Donald Trump himself has been trying to plead his innocence, even though the evidence about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is clear as can be. Now, of course, the White House is still, they're not like actively refuting it, but they won't deny it. Donald Trump is saying that everything associated with this is fake news. It's a witch hunt. It's a hoax. This, that, whatever. But it's fascinating to continue to see how the Republican Party is continuing to launder this whole situation. I was digging around for some additional ways of covering this particular story. This dropped in an article from the Wall Street Journal, and of course that fucking article is paywalled. I hate I hate journalism. I hate media publications putting these tremendously impactful news stories behind a paywall. Make it fucking free, Rupert Murdoch. What the fuck are you doing? We do have some coverage on it from CNN. I did try to find some conservative media coverage of this from Fox News, but of course there was nothing there. Instead, they were talking about how President Barack Obama is committing treason and lied about election interference in 2016. Whatever. We're going to get to that a little bit later on as well. But we're going to lead with this story, with the Trump Epstein story. However, there have been some additional developments regarding Ghislaine Maxwell. Todd Blanche, the deputy attorney general, is meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell. I believe it's either today or at some point later on this week.
Tonight, Attorney General Pam Bondi announcing her top deputy expects to meet soon with Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted accomplice of notorious sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche posting, President Trump has told us to release all credible evidence. If Ghislaine Maxwell has information about anyone who committed crimes against victims, the FBI and the DOJ will hear what she has to say. It's the latest effort by the Trump administration to diffuse the uproar among some Trump supporters over the handling of the DOJ files on Epstein. President Trump today saying he would support it.
Yeah, I don't know about it, but I think it's something that sounds appropriate to do, yeah. It's sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt.
It is a witch hunt that I have associated myself with the most prolific pedophile in the history of pedophilia. It is a witch hunt that I have been on that flight log no less than 7 times. It is a witch hunt that during a deposition in 2010, Jeffrey Epstein pled the fifth when asked if he had ever socialized with me, Donald J. Trump, along with women who were under 18 years of age. It is all just a massive witch hunt
The House Oversight Committee approved a Republican-led motion to subpoena Maxwell.
She wants to tell us who I was going to Epstein Island. I think that would be interesting.
Tonight, the House Speaker...
You think that would be interesting, buddy? Interesting is the word that you fucking use to describe this situation. I want Ghislaine Maxwell to list off every fucking perpetrator that traveled to Jeffrey Epstein's private island. One thing that the conservative media apparatus is trying to do, and Mike Johnson is probably going to say something along the lines of this as well, is that they don't want to release the Epstein files because it would compromise the victims. That is an entirely made up point. At no juncture do you have to put out the victim's personal information. You can anonymize them. You can make sure that the victims are all Jane Does. We the people, God, that's so cringe of me saying that. The supporters of releasing the Epstein files don't want the victims to endure any further trauma. We simply want the perpetrators to be brought to justice.
Mike Johnson says he'll send lawmakers home early for their summer break, delaying any votes demanded by Democrats and some Republicans that would call for the release of more Epstein files.
They are actually ending this week early because they're afraid to cast votes on the Jeffrey Epstein issue. We should release the Epstein files.
Johnson slamming it as political games.
The Democrats are trying to play gotcha politics right now. Has anyone forgotten? They had all these files the entire time. They sat on everything Epstein related for 4 long years while President Biden was in office.
Last week, the Justice Department...
Yeah, dude, and that's wrong. There's like... just because the establishment wings of both parties are pedophile protectors does not mean that it's fucking right. The Democrats, some of the highest ranking Democrats are not wanting to release the Epstein files for the same reason that Donald Trump does not want to release the Epstein files, because they will be implicated in them.
Asked a federal court to unseal secret grand jury records in the Epstein case. Today, the judges said they need more information to make a ruling. Tonight, Maxwell's lawyer confirmed discussions with the DOJ, thanking President Trump, quote, for his commitment to uncovering the truth in this case. But some Democrats argue Maxwell, who's appealing her 20-year sentence, may be looking for a presidential pardon.
All right, Peter Alexander joins us live from the...
I'm getting a little conspiratorial, because there is a little bit of me who believes that the Trump administration and the Trump Department of Justice are going to sit down with Ghislaine Maxwell and strike some sort of deal where she provides some additional information on all of the attendees of Jeffrey Epstein's island, and miraculously, the Trump family is omitted from that. Perhaps I'm reaching. Perhaps I appear to be Michael Jordan at the end of Space Jam when he did that dunk. I believe, however, that there is a non-zero chance of this happening. Remember the severity of this issue. This would go down in modern American politics, I would say, perhaps even all of American politics, as the biggest presidential scandal in history. This goes well beyond Watergate. This goes well beyond Lyndon B. Johnson whipping out his dick in the Oval Office. You have the twice sitting president of the United States being involved in and helping to cover up the most prolific pedophile ring and sex trafficking cabal that has existed. A group of people that it's a group of people that encompasses highly influential politicians, celebrities, the wealthiest people on this planet. This is the globe. Like, these are the globalists that Alex Jones talks about. This is the deep state that Charlie Kirk talks about. You would have Donald Trump not only be actively involved in it, but outwardly covering it up and impeding the release of all of this pertinent information. We have additional reporting here, courtesy of CNN. This is a little bit more in-depth. This is a 9-minute long video, so you already know I'm going to watch this boring-ass shit on 1.25 speed and try to provide as much commentary as possible over it.
Wall Street Journal is now reporting that Justice Department officials told President Trump in May that his name was among many names mentioned in the Epstein files. This is something the White House...
The Wall Street Journal printed that Pam Bondi said his name is among many names in the Epstein files, but that does not make it any better. The fact that there are many names in the Epstein files is horrific. There's no word to describe the depravity. I think they tried to make it, I think they framed it that way, so that way Trump felt a little bit better about being an alleged sex criminal, but it just adds to the scope of this saga.
Is now labeling as, quote, fake news, end quote. Our panel will be here to weigh in, but we do want to start with CNN Chief Legal Affairs Correspondent Paula Reed. We also have our Chief Congressional Correspondent Manu Raju on Capitol Hill. Paula, I want to go first to you, and especially this Wall Street Journal headline, which is that the Justice Department told Trump in May that his name is among many in the Epstein files, that he was told at this meeting the files contained what officials felt was unverified hearsay about many people, including Trump, who had socialized with Epstein in the past, some of the officials said. One of the officials familiar with the documents said that they contain hundreds of other names. We are in the course of reporting this out, obviously. But what else do we know? And it also comes in the context of these court decisions today.
Let's start with the Wall Street Journal reporting what we have not independently confirmed. We have received some statements from the Justice Department saying, quote, the DOJ and the FBI reviewed the Epstein files and reached the conclusion set out in the July 6th memo. Nothing in the files warranted further investigation or prosecution. We have filed a motion in court to unseal the underlying grand jury transcripts. We'll get to that in a second. As part of our routine briefing, we made the president aware of the findings. So in that statement from the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General, they're not directly addressing the most significant part of this, which is the reporting that Trump was told he was mentioned multiple times in these files. Now, there's also a statement from the FBI Director Kash Patel. It says the memo released on July 6th.
I do just want to reiterate, this isn't like groundbreaking information. It's not the fact that Trump is named because, again, we've known this. Like, he was on the Epstein flight logs. His relationship is well documented. It's the fact that Pam Bondi told him to his face, like, hey, you're in there. You know that, right? You are a part of this case.
6 is consistent with a thorough review conducted by the FBI and DOJ. The criminal leakers and fake news media tries tirelessly to undermine President Trump with smears, lies, and this story is no different. I'm reading that because it suggested to me that the FBI director there is calling the story a lie, but that's not actually specifically what he's saying. And I think all this is really important, Casey, because if we go back to the first Bondi-related Epstein controversy, you may remember she held an event to great fanfare at the White House where she handed out binders of what was promised to be new information related to the Epstein investigations. And a lot of MAGA-aligned influencers were very disappointed because most of what she handed out was already in the public record. But sources at that time told me a lot of the frustration from the White House with Bondi in that event was the fact that they didn't redact Trump's name, even though these were records that were already well known. They were flight logs. There was a lot of frustration around Bondi's handling of that incident. So it tracks with what the Wall Street Journal is reporting here, that they would be very sensitive about any mention of Trump's name in subsequent files. Now, you also asked about the potential release of grand jury information, because we know...
Yeah. Paula, let me pause you just 1 second there, because I do want to make sure that we get this White House statement on the record as we continue to talk about this. So here was White House Communications Director Stephen Chung responding to this. He says, quote, the fact is that the president kicked him, Epstein, out of his club for being a creep. This is nothing more than a continuation of the fake news stories concocted by the Democrats and liberal media, just like the Obama Russiagate scandal, which President Trump was right about. Of course, we're going to get to that later on in the show, because that's what they were trying to talk about from the podium today. But Paula, it's also worth noting, of course, the Trump Justice Department did ask for these grand jury testimony, the grand jury materials, to be released. Continue, you were talking about what's going on there. And I think my sort of big picture question for you is, did they actually want those released, or did they know that did they go in expecting this to happen?
Well, they want all of this to die down, but that's unlikely to happen anytime soon. But after the fury following that memo where the Justice Department said they weren't going to release anything else, they had to at least make it appear that they were trying to do something else. And the idea that you're going to unseal grand jury material, that's a long shot. And they really hit one of their first roadblocks today because they're seeking the unsealing of evidence in multiple grand juries connected to Epstein investigations, both in New York and Florida. And a short time ago, a judge in Florida ruled that she would not release information related to grand juries that were convened in West Palm Beach in 2005 and 2007. So this is the earlier Epstein investigation. There were also, of course, grand jury records in New York related to the more recent charges against Jeffrey Epstein before he died and Ghislaine Maxwell. But here in Florida, the judge said she would deny this request because the Justice Department said this stuff should be released because of extensive public interest and, quote, transparency to the American public. But the judge said, look, those don't qualify as exceptions to what is usually the standard. The grand jury material remains sealed. Now, that's not surprising. This was always a long shot. There is a slight glimmer of hope for the Justice Department in New York. Up there, the judge is still looking at this. He's given the Justice Department until next week to provide more legal arguments for why this should be unsealed. Victims and Maxwell have until August 5th to file their positions on the unsealing. Maxwell is expected to oppose this. And a short time ago, that judge said that they would not allow Maxwell and her attorneys to review this grand jury material. But the headline here is, Casey, no matter what happens with these grand juries, the Justice Department will continue to face questions about why they are not releasing all of the material within their power to release, and this new Wall Street Journal report is just going to continue to amplify those questions.
If I recall correctly, the reason why the Trump administration wants the grand jury files to be unsealed is because Donald Trump is not implicated in those. In Florida, I believe what they're talking about is in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's solicitation of a minor. Solicitation of a minor. That was an entirely separate thing. If I'm messing up the specifics, forgive me. But ultimately, Donald Trump wants this situation to go away. Mike Johnson wants this situation to go away. All of the Republicans in Congress who have cucked themselves to Donald Trump, all of these cowards, they want this situation to go away. The kill your local pedophile people are all of a sudden against wanting to kill your local pedophile when that local pedophile is the president. These people are scumbags. They are losers. They are clowns. They do not give a fuck about justice. They don't give a fuck about protecting children. All they give a fuck about is themselves.
And of course, Manu Raju, people who have questions include many Republicans on Capitol Hill, or at least enough of them to cause the House Speaker quite a few problems. And there's also this subpoena that just came down for Ghislaine Maxwell. Bring us up to speed.
Yeah, and this is not the only subpoena that could come down here, Casey. Yes, the subpoena came down from the House Oversight Committee. That was pushed by a Republican Congressman, Tim Burchett, yesterday. Ultimately, the House Oversight Committee voted to move ahead with that. Today, issuing a subpoena asking for a deposition in her prison cell by August 11th. Now, that is one matter. There's a significant move afoot, though, in a separate subcommittee that's part of the larger House Oversight Committee. Republicans appear poised to defy President Trump and join with Democrats to subpoena for all of the Epstein files. That would be a hugely significant move. Now, this vote has not happened yet, but in a key subcommittee that is now considering this measure, Democrats have tried to force a vote to call for a subpoena for all of the Epstein files. That is pushed by Congresswoman Summer Lee. They need one Republican to vote for it. Congresswoman Nancy Mace of South Carolina just told me moments ago she plans to vote for this measure.
This passed earlier today on Thursday. This video was posted on Wednesday. There was Nancy Mace who voted for it, and there were two other Republicans as well, bringing, I think the total was like 8-2, something like that. But this motion did pass.
After getting some changes that she expects to get to redact the names of the victims here. But this is what she just told me.
Yeah, clearly. Yes. Like, Nancy Mace is a fucking psycho, but at least she understands that you can prosecute these people without jeopardizing the well-being of those who were traumatized.
Ago that she plans to vote in favor of this Democratic effort to subpoena for these files.
So I will amend the motion or do my own motion, and I've requested that the ranking member amend it, so we're negotiating that right now. I think it's very important. I will be supporting it, but it's very important that we protect victims.
You'll be supporting the motion?
For sure. Yeah, and I'm going to amend the motion to protect the identity of the victims. I think that should be first and foremost, as someone who's fought for to protect women and kids.
And she is part of the group of Republicans who have signed on to a separate effort, by Congressman Thomas Massie, to try to force a vote in the full House of Representatives to release all of the Epstein files. She supports Mr. Massie's effort on that issue. Now, on the subpoena itself, the chairman of that
A bill that is co-sponsored by Ro Khanna of California, by the way.
subcommittee, Casey, Clay Higgins, he's a Republican, told me he does expect enough Republicans would vote with Democrats to move forward on calling for a subpoena here. So assuming that motion is approved this afternoon, all indications are that it would be approved, then it would be the House Oversight Chairman, James Comer, would have to issue that subpoena within probably in a matter of days here. So a significant movement here. It just shows you the pressure the president is under, the administration is under, from the president's own allies to release more of the Epstein files.
And of course, you're standing out in the parking lot behind the Capitol, which is the stakeout location, when they are getting out of town, which they are doing a day early because of all the things you just outlined there. Mani Raju on the Hill Forest. Paula Reed, thank you.
This is why Manlet Mike Johnson is trying so vehemently to get Congress the fuck out of Washington, D.C. God damn it, this fucking fly just fucking up my day. These subpoenas, these motions, this whole case can escalate very rapidly if Congress allows it to. Of course, since it is a Republican majority Congress, they are not going to do that. In fact, they are actively trying to stifle the Jeffrey Epstein case because of its connection to Donald Trump. I do want to just track back to Mike Johnson. Joe Biden was president for 4 years. Why did Republicans at no point put any pressure on anybody to release the Epstein files? Jeffrey Epstein gets arrested. He allegedly kills himself in prison. There's a whole wave of conspiracy theories about the wealthy, the global elite, the cabal, the deep state, all this, and then fucking nothing happens from it. Ghislaine Maxwell shortly thereafter gets arrested, sentenced to 20 years in prison. Nothing happened after that. That was in 2021, mind you, during Joe Biden's presidency. Why at no point did the Republicans do anything like this? It's because pedophilia in the federal government of the United States amongst the establishment class is bipartisan, it seems. Bill Clinton was linked to it. Donald Trump was linked to it. Who knows who the fuck else was linked to it? I mean, goddamn Prince Andrew was connected to Jeffrey Epstein. There is, unfortunately, and I hate to admit this, a chance, there is a situation in which the Republicans do manage to prevail on this, and everyone just seemingly forgets about it. If they're able to filibuster this shit, and it gets into September, and there's now other shit to worry about, no one, like, at a certain point, the fervor will die down a little bit, especially since the Republican media apparatus is full of fucking pussies, unprincipled cowards who refuse to continue to talk about this. I am talking about everybody over at Fox News. I am talking about Charlie Kirk. I am talking about any Republican commentator who will not give any airtime to this issue because they trust their friends in government. Fuck you. Fuck you. You are a piece of shit. You should not allow the administration to get away with this, especially because if this was happening during a Democratic administration, I know that Charlie Kirk and Tim Pool and Ben Shapiro and Jesse Waters would be screeching and shitting in their fucking pants that a Democrat president was directly connected to the most prolific pedophile that the world has ever seen. They would not let this story die. And it is a shame that they are the ones playing politics in this instance. However, I do believe that the general public will not allow this to just go away. They will not allow Donald Trump to skate by another scandal. He's got 9 lives, right? Teflon Don, this, that, whatever. But Jeffrey Epstein is the type of cannonball that can sink this bloated motherfucker. And again, I do believe that the regular, everyday people view this as a very serious issue. They view this as the serious issue that it is.